Welcome back, Grade 6 to Nelson Math Chapter 4, Section 8. Our last section, communicate about solving a multi-step problem. For a question like this, you will certainly be allowed, if you want, to use a calculator because we are not checking to see if you can carry out a sequence of complicated decimal additions and or subtractions. What we're looking to see is you know which numbers to add and or subtract. So a question like this in one way is more difficult because you're going to have to do the thinking in your head before you do any calculation. On the other hand, some of you may find it easier because you do not have to do many different calculations using paper and pencil. Either way, this does require a plan. So we're going to read this and we're going to make a plan before we even start. We could spend hours calculating random additions and subtractions, but they will not help us unless we know why we're doing them. So let's read the problem. Akeem is painting the walls in 2 rooms in a boys and girls club. He has two 0.90 liter cans of paint and one 3.79 liter cans of paint. 1 liter of paint can cover between 23 meters squared and 37 meters squared. Two walls in each room measure 6 meters by 2.44 meters. The other two walls in each room measure 4 meters by 2.44 meters. Will he have enough paint to cover the walls with 2 coats of paint? This is definitely a question where making a plan is needed. The calculations in each part of the question are not difficult to make, especially since you have a calculator, but you are going to have to know what to calculate. So let's start off. We can do many things, but let's start off by finding out how much paint he has altogether. And we find that out by adding up all of our cans of paint, 2 of these cans and 1 of these cans. So we can add that up. Once we have our amount of paint, we have to find the overall sum of the walls he has to paint. Keep in mind, there are 2 rooms he's painting, not one, 2 rooms, but the rooms are identical. So our next step is going to be to find out what the area is for the 4 walls in one room and the area for the 4 walls in the other room, knowing that those summed together would be 8 walls. But he wants 2 coats. So this is kind of like painting 16 walls. So let's see if we can put all of that together and we'll write some of this down. In the end, we are going to have to make sure we have enough liters of paint based on how much 1 liter of paint can cover. So let's begin. To start, we're going to calculate the total amount of paint that he has. For a question like this, in this part, you may use a calculator. So because he has two 0.90 liter cans of paint, I've written those here, 0.90, 0.90, and one 3.79 liter cans of paint. So let's add this up. And this is 5.59 liters of paint. That's how much paint he has to work with. Our next step, let's find out what the areas are of these walls. These are the dimensions for room 1. One wall or 2 walls would be 6.00 meters times 2.44 meters. Let's calculate that now. So this one wall is 14.64 meters squared. However, keep in mind there are 2 walls like this. So it'll be 14.64 plus 14.64 or 14.64 times 2. So these two walls together are 29.28 meters squared. This little kind of triangle with only two sides and then a number after it means squared. So let's do the same thing for our other side, the other two walls. 4 times 2.44 is 9.76. However, we have two of those walls, so we're going to add another 9.76, or of course we can multiply by 2, and that's 19.52 meters squared. So two of the walls are 29.29 and two of the walls are 19.52. So room 1 has an area of 19.52 plus 29.28, which equals 48.8 meters squared. So that's our room 1. However, there is another room, and that's room 2. The benefit here is that room 2 has the exact same area as room 1. They're identical, which we learned. So room 1 has an area of 48.8 meters squared. Room 2 has an area of 48.8 meters squared. So we could do 48.8 times 2, which is 97.6. So the total area is 97.6 meters squared. So that's the total area of the two rooms. It's going to bold that and underline it. So here's the total area of the two rooms. So that's the total area of just the two rooms. That's how much he would have to paint. However, he has to paint 2 coats. That means he has to go over it once and then go completely over it twice. So if he's going over it twice, he has to do 97.6 times 2. So he has a total of 195.2 meters squared to paint. And just to be clear about what this number means, this is all 4 walls of one room plus all 4 walls of the other room, and then to paint them twice. So just to make that completely clear. So this is what he has to be able to paint. So now we know this is how much paint we have, 5.59 liters. With every 1 liter, he could paint between 23 and 37 meters squared. So let's take the biggest number here. We're not too sure, but let's take 37 meters squared. I've written here both calculations. So if he can stretch the paint and get every liter to cover 37 meters squared, we would get this number. And if he goes a little bit heavier on the coat of paint, it would be 23 meters squared. So let's calculate this out. So 5.59 times 37 equals 206.83 meters squared. So if he can get the paint to cover 37 meters squared with 6 liters, he would then, yes, have enough paint to cover. But let's see with this one. If he could only get this amount, he would get 128.57 meters squared. So he would not have enough. This would be our solution to this problem. So it is possible that Akeem is able to cover all four walls of each room twice if he can get this much paint to cover the walls. This is our, just to recap, this is the uh, total amount of painting he would have to do. And he would be able to do it with the area if he can get 1 liter of paint to cover 37 meters squared. But if 1 liter of paint only covers 23 meters squared, he will not be able to do it. Notice all the steps I put in, and I wrote down all the steps, but I had made a plan first. You are welcome to use a calculator for a question like this because we're not interested in seeing how well you can do the calculations in your head or on pencil and paper. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.